Okay, so hello and welcome to Itentive Healthcare Solutions webinar. Today we're excited to share our next-gen add-on product solution, RefundManager, with you today. My name is Chelsea Gerber and I'm the Marketing Communications Coordinator for Itentive. I'd like to take a moment to explain the process for today's presentation. First, I'd like to mention that this webinar will be recorded. Next, for those of you who aren't familiar with Itentive, I wanted to share a bit of who we are with you. Most importantly, it's our passion to provide solutions for our healthcare provider partners, which in turn help them to improve patient care, enhance the patient experience, and maintain a financially healthy practice. Basically, we do everything NextGen, from consulting to hosting, customization to support, and we have two NextGen add-on productivity solutions, ChartGuard as well as RefundManager, which of course is what we're here to talk about today. Next, as many of you probably know, Itentive presents complimentary educational webinars frequently. I wanted to mention that our next one's going to be tomorrow at this time, and it's going to be on telemedicine. If you haven't registered for that yet, please head over to our events and education page on our website and register for it. Again, it's complimentary and it should be really great and informative. Okay, so back to RefundManager. At the end of the presentation, we're going to open the floor up to questions from you. We're going to answer all the questions at the end, but you may type them in the questions area of the webinar control panel whenever they occur to you. And for audio clarity purposes, everyone's phone is going to remain muted throughout the entire webinar. If you experience audio issues, please use the chat box to let us know so we can resolve them. And again, enter your questions in the questions box. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce our presenters for today. Tom Seco is Itentive's Business Development Manager, and Joel Schultz is the Director of Product Solutions at Itentive. So Tom, I'm going to go ahead and pass the webinar off to you. Feel free to get started when you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Chelsea. Hi, I'm Tom Seco, as Chelsea said. I'm the Business Development Manager for Itentive. And with me is Joel Schultz. And we're here to talk about RefundManager, our product called RefundManager that streamlines and automates the credit balance handling, refund check processing within your NextGen environment in your office location. Here's an agenda that we'll cover, the topics that we'll cover during the webinar today. We'll talk about what is RefundManager. We'll talk about why practices buy RefundManager. We're going to talk about how it works and talk about the different RefundManager versions that we have. I'm going to go through a demonstration of RefundManager for you so you can see it working in a live situation. And then I'll give you a brief overview of what Itentive is, and then we'll answer your questions. So the purpose of RefundManager is to make your job easier. And we do this by streamlining and automating the refund process, the credit balance handling process within your organization. And we are able to automate much of the process because we can integrate with your accounting system where we can eliminate data entry. And when we looked at this process, we looked at all the points where we could apply technology, being, as I mentioned, streamlining, and then points where we could automate, where we can eliminate data entry along the way. We do integrate with several accounting systems, so there's a seamless integration with some of these accounting systems such as QuickBooks and Peachtree and ACPAC. For packages that we do not have a seamless integration with, we communicate the information back and forth via CSV files. The overall goal of RefundManager is to increase productivity. When we went back and talked to our clients who use RefundManager, they told us that they've been able to reallocate resources to other areas of the billing and accounts receivable area. They've been able to spend less time sending money out of the organization and more time bringing money into the organization. This is some comments when we went back and talked to our clients about RefundManager. These are some of the comments that came back to them. I won't go into each one of them, but I will point your attention to the first one that says reduced from days down to hours now. That shows that there is a productivity increase. And then if you look at the fourth bullet item, it says pays for itself in time savings alone. That shows that there is a return on investment. There are some risks with carrying credit balances in your system, and one of those risks is Medicare penalties. Medicare has clauses that centered around not getting credits back to them in a timely manner. And if you don't do that, then they have the possibility of levying some fines and suspending Medicare payments to you. There are clauses in our insurance contracts where the same thing, they would like to have credits back to them in a timely fashion as well. And if it's not done, you could be in violation of the contract, as well as subject to audits along the way. There are specific state laws regarding carrying credit balances and not getting the credit balances back to the appropriate individuals. Each state has its own set of laws with regards to this. For example, California requires that you pay interest after 60 days. Oregon requires that after 3 years of credit balances, if they go unclaimed, that they need to be reported back to the Oregon Department of State Lands. So you need to look at each of your state laws and see what they state about that. There can be class action litigation that can occur from carrying credit balances within an organization where people can gather together and file a class action suit. Some organizations think that carrying credit balances, if they go unclaimed, can come back to the organization as a profit. And just as we talked about with the state laws, the Medicare and the insurance contracts, that's not the case. That you need to return those credits back to the individuals. We have, over the years, talked to many organizations about RefundManager and their credit balance situation. Some of those clients and prospects that we talk to carry anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 instances of credit balances in their system. And when you're getting into that kind of number, the potential for some type of unethical behavior going on within your organization can occur. So staying on top of the credit balances and managing those credit balances in a timely manner within the organization allows you to reduce that potential for fraud occurring. The next few slides I'm going to show you talk about the process within the organization and the areas within the organization that are affected by credits and issuing refund checks. When in a typical organization, handling credits within your organization, you're going to process a credit one or two ways, most likely. One, it's going to be in a reactive manner, meaning that somebody calls up and says, I have a credit balance, I would like to have a refund issued to me. Or you're going to manage the credits in a proactive manner, meaning that you print off the report and every couple of weeks or once a month, and then you process the credits based on what's on that report. So you're going through it in a proactive manner. In either case, whether you're going to do it in a proactive manner or a reactive manner, you're going to go through a series of steps to identify what to do with that credit balance. You're going to view the encounter details, you're going to view probably the transaction details and the account details in order to determine what makes up that credit balance and whether that credit balance should be issued as a refund or maybe distributed to an encounter that has an open balance on it. So if you're going through that process and maybe you're sitting down and have to go through 250 credit balances, well, you're going to go through 4 steps for each one of those to decide what to do with it. So you're going to go through 1,000 steps to get through those 250 credits. Once you get through all of those credits and you've identified the ones that are to be issued as refunds, you're going to create a batch of those credits that are going to be issued for refunds and send it over to your accounting group. And the accounting group is going to receive that information, and they're going to receive it in many different ways. They could receive it on an Excel spreadsheet. They could receive it in an email. They could receive it on a piece of paper. They could receive it with a stack of paper clipped together that has all the detail with it and dropped on somebody's desk. They could just be, passing in the hallway and say, oh yes, this patient requested a a refund because they have a credit. Could you take care of that for me? In any of those situations, the accounting group is going to have to enter that information in their accounting system. So they're going to have to enter in the patient name, the address, the person receiving the refund, the amount of the refund, and other information that gets into the system. Once they enter in that information, they're going to print the checks. So they're going to go through a series of 3 steps to get that information into the accounting system. So out of that 250 credits that I talked about earlier, let's say 100 of those are issued for refund checks. So you're going to have to go through 300 steps to get that information into the accounting system to get all 100 refund checks issued. Once all the checks are printed, then you need to get the information, or some organizations get the information back into NextGen. Other organizations do not enter the information back into NextGen. In the case that you do, and the organizations that do enter the information back into NextGen, they go through a series of steps to enter that information back in there. So they're going to enter in the check number, the check date, the check amount back into the patient chart in NextGen. So they have to, go through a couple of steps for that. So for the 100 checks that are refund checks that are printed, you have to go back and enter 100 check informations back into the NextGen chart. So it is a very time-intensive, labor-intensive type process. When we took a look at this process, as I mentioned in the beginning, we looked for ways that we could streamline and automate and eliminate data entry and make it easier for the people to do their work. So what we did is on the front end, what we've done is we streamlined the front end process by making it much easier for the billing people who are going through the credit balances to, one, find the credit balances on the patient accounts, and then two, in the way that we presented the information to the individuals, make it much easier for them to make a decision on what to do with that credit balance, whether that is to issue a refund or to distribute that credit balance to an accountant that has an open balance on it, or if you just don't have time because there's too much detail to go through the research on that particular credit, task it out for further research to be done at a later time. The places where we looked at we could eliminate data entry is where we could move the information over to the accounting system and feed the check information into the accounting system automatically by eliminating the data entry that's associated with it. So as I mentioned, several accounting systems we have direct interfaces to. Other accounting systems, we use a CSV file to move that information back and forth between the systems. So we can eliminate data entry in the accounting system. And then on the back end, once all the checks are printed, so once all the accountants really have to do is make sure that there's check paper in the printer and that the checks are printing out okay. And then they can, once they get completed with that process, then they can move the check information, the check number, the check date, the check amount, move that back over into NextGen automatically, so we eliminated data entry on that end as well. So streamlining on the front end and then automation on the back end. This slide shows the 3 modules that make up RefundManager. We have a Credit Scout module, a Batch Detective module, and an Importer module. The Credit Scout module is the module that's used by the billing group to identify where the credit balances lie and then be able to decide what to do with that credit balance. So in this module, we give them the capability to issue a refund or redistribute that credit balance to encounter where the money is owed or task it out for further research in the Work Log Manager in NextGen. The Batch Detective module is the one that's going to be used by accounting people to move the refund check information over into the accounting system. So we were able to automate that process. And then the Importer module, the 3rd module, is the module that's used to move the check information back over into NextGen and update the patient charts with the check number, the check date, and check amount. And what's nice about that is if a patient calls up to the front desk and says, you know, I requested a refund to be issued to me, and I haven't seen it yet, the front desk can look into the patient's chart information and see that, oh yes, that check was sent out yesterday, so you should be receiving it on this particular, you know, somewhere around this day, and it was sent to this address, so that the calls don't have to go back to the back office area. And I'll show you these three modules in the demonstration. The benefits of Refund Manager, as I mentioned, reduce time and labor for issuing refunds, makes it much easier to apply the credit balances to other encounters within the practice. We can task it out for further research. We integrate into other accounting systems, reduce the data entry time, and excuse me. We create notes along the way, so it's self-documenting along the way as well. In the beginning of 2016, we came out with a new release of Refund Manager, and Refund Manager is now multi-practice aware, meaning that if you have multiple practices set up in NextGen, you are able to see for a particular patient all of the accounts that associated with that patient across all of your practices. So if you had a patient that was a patient within your clinic, and then let's say you had a surgery center, you could see that patient's accounts in the surgery center as well. And then you have the ability to move credit balances between the accounts as well. We've incorporated a workflow capability that allows you to split the workflow between people who request the refunds and people who process the refunds. So you can have a requester role and a refund processor role within your workflow and within Refund Manager. So now I'm going to do the demonstration for us. So let me see if I can change screens here and then bring up Refund Manager. Okay, so with Refund Manager is a piece of software that gets loaded on your servers where NextGen EPM is located at. And it's a piece of add-on software. So to launch Refund Manager, you come into the add-ons menu within NextGen, and you'll launch Refund Manager from that menu. Once Refund Manager launches, what we've done is a couple things with regards to Refund Manager. We worked to keep Refund Manager, the look and feel of NextGen, consistent with Refund Manager, so that we minimize the learning curve because look and feel is the same. We also work within the same context that you are within the Refund Manager or the NextGen environment, meaning you can see up here that we're working within the same practice as you were within NextGen. You can see down here in the lower right-hand corner the username that's being used as well. And then here you can see the database that's being used within the NextGen environment. So Refund Manager is working within the same context as NextGen. I mentioned the three modules that I'm going to show to you today. The Credit Scout module we'll take a look at, the Batch Detective module, and then the Importer module. So let's start with the Credit Scout module. And with the Credit Scout module, this is what it looks like. It allows you to find credit balances how you would like to search for them. So as I mentioned earlier, if you had somebody call up and said, I have a credit balance and I'd like to have a refund sent to me, you could come into the Credit Scout and search by their last name, first name, and be able to pull up their account information with that. If you're working in a proactive manner, we have several different ways to process that, to find credit balances. If you were working them, you had a large amount of credit balances to process and you wanted to process them from oldest to newest, you could do a search by date range and able to do some time chunking, if you will, in order to break it up into batches. So this gives you the ability to do that. We created some filters that makes it easy for you to find credit balances based on different scenarios that we've created, and you could search for them this way. You can search for credit balances that are due to an individual, that are due to a third party, or due to both by simply checking on the check boxes here. As I mentioned earlier, Refund Manager is multi-practice aware. So if you had multiple practices, you could select which practice you wanted to find the credit balances in. If you're just a single practice set up, then you would just have one practice located up here. If you have multiple locations within your organization, you can search for credits by location by simply checking the check boxes. Rendering provider, you could find credits by rendering provider. We have some clients who have a central business office, and within that central business office, they have individuals who are assigned to certain providers. And so you could find credit balances based on provider. You can also by department, and you can find credit balances based on financial class. So if you just wanted to find all the credit balances that are due to Blue Cross Blue Shield, you could. If you wanted to find them just to Medicaid or Medigap, you could as well. This is a nice feature, this appointment skip days feature. What this feature does is allows you to eliminate credits from showing down in the search results area down here if that patient has an appointment scheduled within the next 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever, how many days you want. So if that patient has a credit balance and they have an appointment scheduled within the next 5 days, they will not show up down here, meaning then you can use that credit to apply to the upcoming appointment. You can eliminate credits from showing up that have a certain task encountered on them. And then down here in the lower right-hand corner, we have a running total of the amount of refunds that are being selected. So some organizations say they have a limit on the amount of refunds that they can process within a week or a couple of weeks, whatever it is. So sometimes they're limited to $1,000 over refunds in a week. So you can get an idea of how many refunds that you're processing by this running total down here. Mainly used for cash flow purposes. So let me click find here, and we'll go out and start to process some credits. So this is what the search screen looks like when it goes out and finds the credits. You'll see that we have the guarantor's name, their date of birth, so you can identify who that individual is. the number of accounts that they have. As I mentioned, Refund Manager is multi-practice aware, so if, in this case, Oscar Burt has an account in a couple different practices, so he shows up with the number 2 here. It shows you the total number of patient credits and payer credits that Oscar has, that the individual has as well. Over here on the left side, we have the T, R, and D columns. These are the checkboxes that you're going to check to take action on what you want to do with that credit balance. So if you want to issue a refund, you would click the R box. If you want to distribute that credit balance to an encounter that has some balance, you would click the D box. And then if you wanted to tap that credit balance out for further research, you would click the T box. For today's demonstration purposes, I'm going to take you through a couple of examples of credits. One is going to be a couple of examples for issuing refunds, and then I'm going to take you through a couple of examples of distributing credits to encounters that have open balances on them and how we can do that. So first of all, I'm going to take you through a couple refunds or credits that are going to be used for, issued for refunds. So a couple examples that we have set up for the demonstration purposes. One is Mary and Kelly. Mary and Kelly, you can see, has $123 in patient credits. So if I click the plus box over here, that expands out the detail. We can see that Mary and Kelly has 6 encounters that make up the $123 credit balance. So, and within the encounter, we can even go down to the charge level and take a look at the charge level as well by clicking on the plus box there. With Mary and Kelly, if we decided, we look at her and we say, okay, we're going to issue a refund for her. So we're going to click on Mary and Kelly's name, and it's going to highlight all the lower boxes, and we're going to issue a $123 refund for Mary and Kelly. The next example I want to show you is Mildred Key. And Mildred Key, you can see, has $44 in patient credits and $233 in payer credits. If we expand out Mildred Key to take a look at some of the detail here, we can see that that's $44 that's credit to Mildred, and then we have $133 that is a credit to Medicare Georgia and $100 credit to United Healthcare. We can expand out the detail on each of those as well to take a look at the encounters that make up the credit for each individual. And again, we can go down to the charge level if we need to take a look at the detail. In this case, with Mildred Key, if we wanted to, we could issue just a refund to United Healthcare by clicking United Healthcare. Or we could issue just a refund to Medicare Georgia. Or we could do the same just for Mildred Key. So we can control how we want to issue the refunds to the individuals. If we wanted to do it to all of them, we could just click at the higher level and issue a refund to Mildred, to Medicare Georgia, and to United Healthcare. Over here, on the right side, these buttons here, these are address buttons, and within Refund Manager, we have an address book that allows you to maintain multiple addresses for a particular account. So in this particular case, we can have, if we wanted to send the payment to United Healthcare, we could just click on United Healthcare, and it will use the United Healthcare address book. NextGen has an address book as well that came out a couple of years ago, and we updated RefundManager to accommodate that capability as well. So we give you the ability to use the NextGen address book, or you can use RefundManager's address book to maintain the multiple addresses. So those are two examples of the credits that can be issued for refunds. Now let me take you through a couple examples of credits that we will distribute to encounters that have open balances on them and show you how that works. In my first example, we'll use Catherine Langclose. Catherine Langclose we see has a $220 patient credit. When we look at, let me also show you this here. We have headers on-off capability to where we can turn headers on and headers off. I'm going to turn the headers on just to show you what this looks like. And typically what happens is in the beginning when our clients first start using RefundManager, they'll use the headers on so they can see what the columns are and what the individual numbers are. And as they get familiar with the positioning of the numbers, then they usually click the headers off and it becomes a much cleaner screen. But with the headers on, we can see that in this case with Catherine, she had $220 in patient credits. So if we look at her account balance, it's $185.85 credit balance. So looking at that, that's telling me that she must owe us $34.15 somewhere. So this would be a candidate for a credit distribution. And in doing a credit distribution, we're going to click the D box for distribution. And then we're going to do a right click. Now with RefundManager, we have the ability to distribute credit balances a couple different ways. We can let the RefundManager application distribute the credit balance for us automatically, or we can do it manually where we have control on how that credit balance gets distributed. I'm going to show you both ways. In this particular case, I'm going to use the automatic portion of RefundManager to distribute the credit balance. So in order to do that, we're going to do distribution preview. Click on that. And it's going to automatically distribute the credit balance for us. It's going to work from the oldest credits that are due and work its way back to the newest. So that's how it applies itself to work the numbers out until there's no more money credit left to distribute. So in this case, it's going to move the $34.15 from this encounter and apply it over to this encounter over here. So it automatically did it for us. In the second example, I'm going to show you that's going to be Dennis Kramer. And in Dennis Kramer's case, we see that we have he has a patient credit of $1,591 spread across a couple different practices. So I'm going to show you how when we manually control how the credit is distributed. So we're going to do click the D box for distribution, and we're going to do a right click, and then we're going to, instead of doing distribution preview, which was the automatic portion, we're going to do distribution matching, where we can control how to distribute the credit balance accordingly. So by doing the distribution matching, allowing us to control how the credit gets distributed, we can now see on the left-hand side we have where the credits are, and on the right-hand side we have the encounters with the open balances on them. And by simply clicking the boxes and matching them up, we can apply the credits how we want them to be distributed. So in this case, we're going to take the $33 credit in the family practice on this encounter, and we're going to apply the $33 credit to this $44 encounter that has the open balance on it. By clicking on that and then clicking on Add Batch, we can see now that it's being applied, and you'll see that these dollar amounts are now going to be reduced as we go through this process. Now in this case, I'm going to take the $13 credit and apply it to the $12 encounter. And now I'm going to take the $1 and apply it over to the surgery center. So now we're moving across practices. So if you have a multiple practice environment, this is how it gets moved across the practices. I'm going to take the $555 credit and apply it to the surgery center. And I'm going to take the pediatrics credit and apply it over to the surgery center as well. And you can see as we're doing this, the amounts are being reduced along the way. And then here you can visually see, how it's being applied as well. Okay. So that's how you can manually control the credit balances being distributed from one area to the other. So we looked at a couple different ways. We looked at credits being issued for refunds, and then credits that are being distributed to encounters that have open balances. Once we get done with the process, we've done with our sitting of processing the credits. Now we want to process this information. So we do a right-click and do Process Selected Items. And what this is showing us, the summary screen, is showing us that we have 11 transactions for refunds and 4 for distributions across the different practices. The task over here, if we had selected one of these encounters or one of the credits to be tasked out for further research, it would have shown up here as a task for further research. So here we have the different transaction codes that are going to be assigned to the transactions as we get done. So for the refunds, it's going to be a patient adjustment, and for the third-party insurances, it's going to show a refund insurance adjustment. For the distributions that we did, for the ones that are within the practice, it's going to say distribute inter-practice move. For the ones where we move between practices, we generally have to write it off in one practice and then receive it in the other practice. Okay. So now we're going to process these. So you're going to see how quickly these transactions can be created now just by a couple clicks of the mouse. So here we're processing the 11 refunds. And now we're doing the distributions, the 5 distributions. And then here it's just giving us a review to see, okay, these are the distributions that we did. Are we okay with how this money is being distributed? So it gives us one more check to make sure everything's done okay. And if we're okay with it, then we can click close, click continue to close. Okay. Okay, so that's what we did there. Now we need to go over to NextGen, and we need to post we need to post the work that we did. So now we've seen this. I want to show you some of the detail. I mentioned that the chart or refund manager, the refund manager documents itself along the way. So I'm going to show you some of that. This is the one where we had the credit distribution on Catherine Lenklos. So if we double click on her, we can see the detail of the 3415 as it moved 3415 and what it applied to the encounters. And then let me show you now let me show you Catherine Mildred Key. So along the way, Mildred Key, this is one where we had issued the refund checks. When we had looked at, this is the refund check that we did. You see that here is the batch, name of the batch that we did. And when we get done with the issuing of the refund checks, what we'll see here is the check number, check date, and check amount. And I'll show you that once we get completed. We created a note along the way as well. And here it says Refund Manager created refund transaction Medicare Georgia for $22 on this date by the username that we had talked about. And when we get done with the printing of the refund checks, we'll also see the address of where this check was sent along the way as well. So it is self-documenting as you go through the process. Okay. So we got the information in the NextGen. Now what we need to do is we need to get the information over to the accounting system, and so we have to use the batch detective to do that. So we're going to find our batch. And do a right click and export the selected refunds over. And this is a check consolidation screen. Some of the accounting systems have do well at check consolidation. Other accounting systems don't do so well. So we incorporated some check consolidation feature into Refund Manager, and this is what you're seeing now is Refund Manager's check consolidation capability. So if you wanted to consolidate some checks, what it would do is you would check the ones that you would like to consolidate, and then do a right click and consolidate the matching checks based on same addresses. So that's how you can do it as well. If your accounting system does check consolidation, then you wouldn't need to use this. So we're going to export these over into the accounting system. And for demonstration purposes, we use QuickBooks for our accounting system. So we have a seamless integration with QuickBooks, so it gets moved over there. So now we're going to go into QuickBooks. So this is QuickBooks in the check printing area. And you can see that here's the Mildred Key checks that we had requested be issued. You'll see that we have the name of the patient, we'll have the encounter, and then the date of service as well in the memo area. You'll see here for United Healthcare, for the third-party payers, you'll see that we have the patient, we have the policy number, and the date of service as well. So we have some detail that shows up for the individuals. In this case, what I need to also have is to get the check numbers on the checks. So I need to print the checks in order to get the check numbers on there. So now we have the check numbers up here. And now we need to get those check numbers back over into NextGen. So with that, we use the last module that I talked about, which was the importer module. And here's the batch of checks that we did. And I do a right click and import the payments. Okay. And if I go back into NextGen, and I'll show you the one that we did the check for, 24351. And we'll look at the check. Last time when we looked at this, it had the batch, name of the batch here. Now it has the check number, check date, and check amount. And if we look at the notes, it created another note. And now it has the address of where that check was sent in the note as well. So that's it for the demonstration piece. So as we mentioned, we looked at the three modules: the credit scout module, the batch detective module, and the importer module. The batch detective module is the one that moves the checks into the accounting system. The credit scout module is the one where you can find the credits and decide what to do with those credits. And then the importer module is the module that moves the check information back over into NextGen. So let me continue on with the demonstration. So people generally ask us what's it take to implement RefundManager. It's about 60 to 90 minutes to install the software. We asked you to look through or to view some training videos that we put together. There's 4 of them. They're about 10 to 11 minutes in length each. We also give you the RefundManager user guide to review. Once you get through all of that, then what we do is we schedule a time with one of our RefundManager specialists to answer any questions that you have with regards to what you saw in the training videos and what you read in the user guide. And then once you get through that, then what we'll do is we'll schedule a time to train you in your test environment of processing your credits. Once you get through that process and you feel comfortable in your test environment, then what we do is we point it over, RefundManager over to your production environment, and we'll be on the phone with you, walking you through the first couple batches in your production environment as well, so you feel comfortable there. We have 3 license versions of RefundManager, a standard license, a professional license, and an enterprise license. Standard license is generally associated with the QuickBooks Pro application and the Peachtree accounting application. The professional license is used for any other accounting systems such as QuickBooks Enterprise, Great Plains, ACPAC, and then the enterprise is for larger practices. A little bit about Itentive. We were founded in 2003, and our mission is to create additional value for your NextGen investment. We know that when you purchase NextGen, it was a major investment, and it's most likely grown over the years. We want to work with you to get as much value out of that as possible. We have 15 years of experience with NextGen and 70-some employees in the company from coast to coast, most of which are consultants that travel to various clients and practices, working with them on improving workflow, improving performance, improving what you get out of NextGen from a reporting perspective as well. If you take the 2003 and the 15 years, it doesn't add up, and that reason for that is because we started out as the IT department for a medical organization, and in the late 90s and 2000s, they were going to outsource the IT department, and the leaders of the IT department said, if you want to do that, then what we like to do is form our own company and provide services back to you. They agreed to do that, and from that point forward, we've worked with over 350 to 400 clients that use NextGen. And during that time frame, we've become a strategic partner with NextGen as well. As I mentioned, our consultants and our group, we work with our clients on implementations of NextGen, process improvements and workflow improvements within the organization, business process improvements. We have a group of developers that can enhance templates. We have a group of technology folks that are very familiar with NextGen that can perform upgrades and provide help desk support as well. And then we have a group of technology people who are very good at PCs and infrastructure, so we can manage your desktops, your laptops environment, as well as your network infrastructure. We have a data center where we can do our own cloud hosting, so we can host their environment as well, which we do with many clients. And then we have productivity tools, with which Chelsea mentioned earlier. RefundManager, which we talked about today, but we also have a product called ChartGuard that is our business continuity solution. And basically what that is a piece of software that runs at night, every night. It looks at your appointment listing for all of your appointments that are scheduled to come into each of your office locations, and generates a patient chart for each of those patients coming into the office, and then sends that chart to a PC at each of your locations. And in the event that that location loses access to NextGen, your providers and staff can go to that PC and be able to get the patient chart information off of that PC, as well as the appointment listings, so they can continue on with their work while the IT group is trying to get NextGen back online. At this point, we'd like to take any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I know that was a lot of information for everybody out there who's watching it. So if you have questions, please type them in. We only have a couple, so we'll just go through those in the order that they come. And I know that was a ton of information, so if you think of questions later that you didn't think to ask now, please feel free to reach out to either Tom or Joe. Both of their information's on the screen, and they'd both be delighted to answer any questions you might have about it. Okay, so the first question. How much training is required? Our people aren't great with computers.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take that one. This is Joe Schultz, and again, thanks for attending the webinar today. The training for RefundManager is very straightforward. As Tom mentioned, there's a series of videos that we have you watch that you don't necessarily need to memorize, but if you look at them and look at the user guide, and then we'll do a Q&A session with you, and we'll walk through the process. What you saw today in the webinar was really the basics of the refund process and the distribution process, so it really is very straightforward, and our clients pick up on it very quickly.
Thanks, Joe, and sorry about that. I hit the video camera button instead of the mute. But as you saw, I'm in my Cubs gear. Go Cubs. We're in Chicago. Next question. Do you support new versions of NextGen?
Yes, we do. We created Refund Manager back in 2005, and this was actually for NextGen Practice Management 3.4, so it was a long time ago. So we've been keeping it current with NextGen for, going on 11 years now, soon to be 12 years. We make it current with the minor releases and the major releases. We encourage you to load it into your test environments, so as you're reconfiguring to go to a new UD level with NextGen or a new version level with NextGen, you can go ahead and pull it in there too. Of course, we do our own testing and tweaking, and as Tom mentioned with the refund addresses, we enhance Refund Manager to take advantage of new features in NextGen too.
Great, thank you, Joe. And it looks like this is it looks like we get another one that came through. I was going to say our last, but second to last. So the question is, if we use Mass 90 Sage 100 for our accounting, would we need to transfer it via CSV?
That is correct. We support Sage 100 via CSV file, and we have GL mapping, so you can go ahead and get your GL codes in there, and then if you can produce a report of the IDs we give you along with the check numbers and check amounts, we can pull that information back into Refund Manager. So those are just files that move back and forth that Refund Manager can export out and read back in.
Thanks, Joe. And it looks like our last question here kind of goes off what you were just talking about in the previous one. How often is Refund Manager updated?
We shoot for one feature release per year, but we also do a number of continuous updates. We're always adding new accounting systems and new features into the existing accounting systems. So we have a download site where we stage Refund Manager at for you, and the release notes are out there. But we, in addition to that, like I said, we shoot for one big feature release per year, and then we're continuously doing updates as we come into new clients with different accounting systems and different needs, so we can accommodate them.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. I think that's all that we have right now, but please, again, feel free to reach out to either Tom or Joe, and we'll be happy to help you with any questions. Hope to see you at tomorrow's educational webinar on telehealth. And thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope that you have a great Tuesday.